I'm Bill Treiber with Artistic Finishes. I'm the Technical Sales and Education Manager. I would like to thank the NWFA for allowing us to do this presentation. Personally, I've been a member of the NWFA for many, many years, going back working in the distribution side of the business, and so it's always been an honor to be a part of the NWFA. We have today, as you know, Artistic Finishes is primarily a wood manufacturer of accessories in the industry. The flooring industry has been very good to us. We're in business now for over 30 years. So today I want to focus on primarily one of the particular profiles that we do a lot of, actually the majority of our profiles, stair nosings. We try to offer as many options to the installer as possible, and with today's floors getting more and more diverse, as we all see throughout the show here, we have to continually listen to what the installers are needing in terms of application for the different situations and thicknesses of floors and medias of floors. So we're gonna talk a little bit about these different tread displays and step displays, and then we're going to finish with a simple install, but focus in on our preferred method of install, which is using our previous presenters here product, which we did with a 2-year research on, and recommend Vaco's 245 MS for modified silane, the Montanator. And it's actually something that they showed in their last presentation. When you're doing a starter row for boards, they would recommend the MS 245. Well, we certainly want to recommend that product, and we'll talk about a little bit more in detail later. Okay. First up over here, what I have is a series of LVT, LVP, and an engineered floor that is right around a 1/2 inch. And these, by the way, will all be escorted back to our booth, which is over at 1202. If you have any additional questions when I get done, you can certainly, if you haven't been by, I see some of the people have been by already, feel free to visit us and ask additional questions. I also have associates on the outside here and throughout that will give you a packet of additional information and detailed information, tech sheets, what have you. If you'd like, you can grab one of those before you leave. This particular display is showing on top here a 4.5 millimeter LVT. I'm sure many of you have seen it, installed it. What we have is a Scribe 2 design profile that matches the manufacturer's recommendation of a 1/4 inch underlayment. So it butts up next to that, and it allows you to put that floor right over the top, but be flush, giving you the traditional look of a bullnose stair nosing throughout. That you can take that right down a series of steps. I don't believe you'll find this anywhere else in the show. I know that's unique to us. It's one of our signature stair nosings. It's become quite popular with your 4 to 5 millimeter floors. It's very rigid as far as what it can handle in terms of variability in height, because it does require the use of that underlayment to butt up next to it. We also have a smaller version of this on a 121 if you're doing a long stair rail, which would save you a little bit of money because it's a little less expensive and is available in different lengths, where this is only available in an 8-foot length. But you can see how nicely you can finish off a set of steps if it's an open stairwell, or butt up next to it if it's a closed stairwell. We'll talk a little bit more about install as I get to the later part of the presentation. The second step, as I mentioned, is an LVP wood plank look. It's also in that 5 millimeter range, but it's showing our adjustable mini stair nose. This particular profile sits vertically on the front of the step, and people go, oh my God, that'll never hold up. Well, that's why we're going to talk about this little thing over here called the MS 245, because this has passed all the ASTM load tests for durability and strength. Okay. And what it also gives you is a few options, because we sell the treads and the risers as well. You could put this profile directly on top of a 1/4 inch riser, so you would have that flush look. You can see how nicely that blends in. We do, as you know, a custom blend to well over now 500 to 600 manufacturers' floors here, just about everybody here. So to add blending to LVTs and LVPs, well, that's artistically what we do best. And so these being wood, also giving you an additional nail fin. If you so desire, you won't see any nails on any of these profiles. But again, that flush traditional look with a bull nose on your stair nosing. The bottom one is using the same profile, but a different thickness floor. Since this is versatile, it's adjustable. It can go anywhere from as little as 2 millimeter floors all the way up over 3/4 solid. So you get an option there, and you can see this here with the engineered floor as well. Okay, over here, we've got an introduction into a whole new product line. We're calling it Endurecore. Now, for those of you, do we have any Moldings Online customers in the crowd? We recently merged with a rebrand. Our website from a retail standpoint was always Moldings Online. So if you've heard of Moldings Online, we're now Artistic Finishes. As of last week, those customers here that are Moldings Online customers recognize that we have one site. It's a little bit more of an efficient approach going forward. We feel it's a superior site, user-friendly, because we are an e-commerce company. It gives you an opportunity for anybody here to go in and see the products that we have available and purchase them direct from us as a manufacturer. This particular product, the Endurecore, is a WPC. Now, in the industry, you're probably familiar with, a few years back, not that many, a WPC was referred to as waterproof core. Technically speaking, it's a wood plastic composite. We've added stone to ours, giving it a higher density rating as a commercially rated product above 925 density rating, which is much higher than a lot of the WPC products that you do see in the market. We did that for a reason, because when you get a two-wheel dolly that's pulling a refrigerator up a set of steps, you don't want to have it break, you don't want to have dents, you don't want to have marks. This will give you that kind of performance. The other names in the industry, rigid vinyl core, multi-layer flooring. In fact, there was just recently in the industry a new organization being formed here in the last few months, MFA, Multi-Layer Flooring Association. And we'll soon become a part of that as well because of the need to define this product niche. Well, this product, we're using a very thin veneer core, 5 different species, acacia. We're using maple, birch, European oak, and hickory pecan or pecan hickory, depending on which side of the Mason-Dixon line you are, to basically blend to all of the different manufacturers that have brought their products forward to us. They want to make the floors, we're going to make the transitions. We're the only company that'll give you 3 options on just the stair nosing for anywhere from your little 4 and 5 millimeter WPCs all the way now we're finding them up to 1/2 inch, 12.7 millimeter. These ones I'm showing you here are pretty typical. They're in the 7.5 to 8.5 range, depending on whether or not they're putting a sound deadening backer on the bottom. You're going to find that with a couple of these. This top is our overlapping stair nose. Second one is similar to our adjustable mini in wood. It has a little more of a modern profile. Some would call it a waterfall look. You're going to see that on the ones I'm doing here at the end, where it has a sharper radius edge, but again, it's adjustable. Okay? The technologies that we put into that are increasing with a riveted back to increase the surface area for maximum adhesion with the adhesives that we do recommend. And then the bottom one is similar to our other one over here, where you're limited to the size range that you can use this, but it's your more traditional looking stair nose, and that's got the full size bull nose there. Okay? So again, 3 different options, and those give you a full plethora of different thicknesses of floors that you can go with, all being custom blended. Now, when we get into the veneer wrap with our highly water resistant and a waterproof mode, for commercial use. We are not able to do the kinds of wire brushing and hand scraping that we can with our solid wood profiles. That's the one drawback that you have here. But of course, cost is also going to come down with that. Because if we have a floor that is wire brushed, we wire brush. If the floor is hand scraped, we're going to hand scrape it. If it's using Vaco, or if it's using Ceranova, or if it's using Rubio and it's an oil, we're going to do that. We do all that on a daily basis in our shops. Last but not least, I do have here actual treads. We do many different treads. We're probably one of the leaders in the industry because there really isn't a profile or a design or a size that we can't do. We'll take your CAD drawings, we'll take your architectural drawings, you can send us renderings, but no matter what length, no matter what width, no matter what thickness, open stairwells, closed, we can do that. Here you're seeing a 2mm radius, similar to the waterfall look that you're seeing here on this stair nosing, in a traditional red oak with a natural finish, lower sheen. Here you're seeing an 8mm radius on this particular bull nosing in a full thickness European oak. Now this is an engineered stair nose, and we get these in large blanks. We do have a little more limitations when we get into some of the exotics. We consider this an exotic. I mean, if it's true European oak, it's coming from 200-year-old trees. They're using about a 6mm wearly on here, but it does give us, obviously with that kind of thickness, the ability to wire brush that, do an oil finish as you see here, and really present it to you just like the floor. This is an actual 3/4 inch riser that is of European oak, and you can see how nicely that looks together with that. Then on top, we've got another European oak, a little different look, and we've got our stair nosing. This particular stair nosing has an 8mm radius. It's a 5.5 inch wide. We do stair nosings of all different widths, all different thicknesses. So there really shouldn't be any issue for you guys out there doing the installs to find exactly what it is that you want. Now, as I mentioned, everything in this presentation here has been adhered down. The particular product that we do recommend is Vaco's MS245. The installers love this product because you can throw it in the back of your van, go through several freeze-thaw cycles if it's during the winter, pull it in, get it to room temp, cut it, open it, and use it. No degradation or quality or shrinkage or change of the composition of the product. Also, if you do just happen to use a partial tube of this after I'm done today, I will use very little. Take this back to the shop. We'll use this, just take off the skin. No waste inside. It does not harden, does not cure. So very user-friendly from that standpoint. It's a zero VOC product, MS standing for modified silane, so very inert. 4 points on the lead scale if you're concerned about projects where you have to be environmentally friendly. So that's also can be a factor. The product itself will bond to steel, concrete, whether it's sealed or not. You go to a lot of commercial sites and they're going to seal the concrete, but they forget the steps. This will bond. Wood, any wood composition, any engineered wood, any of your OSBs, TNG, different grades of plywood that bonds excellent to it. Drywall, styrofoam. It bonds to all of those compositions as well. And it does it very quickly. It has a very high green grab, but unlike something that you'd go down to the store and get at your big box where you're buying a construction adhesive, yeah, they're less money, but when they cure, they get very hard, don't they? And over time, they'll shrink. This will not do that. It's also water permeable, and it maintains with a PSI pressure of about 250 pounds, about 3 to 4 millimeter flex. So the elastomeric qualities that you get when you have those carts and heavy objects that are going over my profiles, I don't want them to break. And this will give you just enough give so that you have that flexibility, yet performance to stay in the position that it needs to be in for many years ahead. That's the advantage when you go with a better adhesive properly used. Now you do need a clean surface, as with most applications. And as far as the way that it works when it comes out, it's a little thicker than most. I'm going to recommend about a 1/4 inch bead here. And notice I'm not putting it down in the crevice, because what would most guys do when you're installing? You put your adhesive down here. Put it on the object where you want it when you install a stair nosing, okay? Because it's always going to end up in the right spot, okay, where it's supposed to be. And you can do, as obviously before you ever get to this point, you would have preset this dry. If you're doing an install, last weekend I put in a set of treads and risers. You're going to probably cant this a little bit with a 3 to 5 degree angle, but you're going to leave it square on the front. Why? Because you want to see that as a full bullnose application. And then once you get that into place, okay, I can do an entire set of steps with that like this, 3 to 8 feet wide in about 2 to 3, 4 hours. But I don't want to sit here and hold this. For most cured times, most adhesives, well, you guys can decide, even on a side application where you're getting into something like this, where these are vertical stair nosings, 3 minutes, you're good to go. But what I like to do is take a nice tight application, about every 18 to 24 inch tape down, and you're on to the next one. But that's about all you would really need there. And you're good to go. I think my time is just about up, but we want to cover a couple different things here. We make more than just the stair nosings. We make T-molds, square nosings, reducers. We do wall base, quarter round. We make profiles for wall paneling. As I mentioned, we do all the treads and risers, and we do a boatload of vents. And we're one of the few companies that will do 3/8 inch flush vents. And of course, if the floor again is hand scraped, or if the floor is wire brushed, when you get to vents and you get to vertical surfaces, there we don't do that, okay? That's one exception. We don't, with our vents, we don't want to compromise the integrity because we're using high-speed wire brushes for wire brushing. Our hand scraping, all is done by hand, so we can simulate really closely to all the looks of the floors. We don't do any cross-kerfing. That's something that it takes us a little bit out of our wheelhouse right now. I think someday we might be able to do that, but otherwise most of the textures and just about all of the sheens and finishes we can do. We work with close to 70 different species, so you know we're trying to get the exact species in the same grade as well as the cut. And the cut is very critical if you're dealing with rift and quarter sawn products, as most of you know. So, do we have any questions? Yes. The question is, for those if you didn't hear it, is can we make a 5.5 inch wide stair nosing? Some would say it's a landing tread. He's calling it a bull nosing. I refer to the bull nosing as only the portion that hangs over, okay? So this is a stair nosing. This is the bull nosing, all right? This one is 5.5. We do have limitations on the width when we get into the narrower floors, okay? Because the weight, we're concerned about the weight on the overhang. Now the international building codes generally now are getting narrower on overhangs on steps, okay? A lot of the local codes here are up to 1.75 inches. We typically don't see that very much. About 1.25 inches is traditional with what we do in most of the treads that we make, but there's a wide variety of customers that ask for the wider stair nosings, but smaller bull nosings, okay? But yeah, we can do that. We probably have about 140 different stair nosings in our existing portfolio, but that portfolio is constantly changing. We just introduced right here, the 2 millimeter. We're calling it our Euro stair nosing. If you're online with us, we have a series of Euro stair nosings that get to 5 inches wide on the 5/8 and 3/4 inch thick floors. So we do that. That's on, yeah. So his concern is with a lot of the stair nosings today, they're not wide enough because once you have the overhang, hanging over. They only give you a couple inches back here. And that's a good point, because you don't want to, and guys that nail, by the way, when you do nailing, and you know, I just did treads and risers, obviously I used a gun, okay? So you're going to end up nailing, but we're trying to reduce the amount of nailing when you get into stair nosing application. And the reason being is, one of the reasons is what this gentleman right here, this installer just said, is as you nail, if you're nailing into the riser, you're creating a potential problem, okay? The riser is what the tread or stair nosing sits on. That's level, that's solid, it's mounted to your stringers, okay? The stair nosing or the tread should sit onto your riser. So if you're nailing down through into the riser, what have you just done? You could split it. That happens all the time, okay? You want to nail into the subfloor behind the riser, okay? When you're doing and using adhesives, that's all out of the equation. You don't even have to worry about that. So from an install standpoint, you've eliminated it. I encourage you to try this particular method. But very good question. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yep.
My question is, in terms of, I come where these LVTs, a lot of them don't have the flush mount stair nosing. So if a customer wants a particular manufacturer's product matched, do you have a list in a database, or do I have to send an actual board to you to get that match?
We have currently, it keeps growing. I really couldn't tell you exactly how many products we have in our system, but it's well over 1.5 million total SKUs. We're dealing with roughly about 700 different manufacturers. We are the, we're that little niche of the industry that nobody wants to deal with, but everybody's got to do to finish a job. So we have to listen and constantly listen to guys like you. Bill, I've got a 3 millimeter floor, and I got to butt that up next to commercial carpet. Nobody makes a square nose that small. We do. Okay, so I encourage you to go online if you're not currently a member, because it's free, but that's how we do business, okay? And look at, you pull up by the floor. You're going to need to know the collection, the color. And once you're in there, and even then they might have a low sheen, medium sheen, high sheen, so we got to have all that, okay? Then you can get the specific product, and then we will give you options, because I don't know if you're going to float that floor or you're going to glue that floor down. I got to have overlapping as well as flush stair nosings, right? So that's why we offer sometimes many more things than you're ever going to need or use. But we have to do that in order to have a success for you and what you're doing on your install. That's what we try to do for you. Thank you. Appreciate your time.